Matthew 13 and 38. It says, the field is the world. This is the parable of the sower seed. The good seed of the children of the kingdom are the Israelites, but the tares, which look like Israelites, are the children of the wicked one. And these guys, these other camps out there, they never talk about the Edomites that look like Israelites. As long as you have brown skin and kinky hair, you're safe. No, that's not the case. You have a lot of tares, but these guys only focus on the outward appearance. So if you look, if it look white, it's white. So if you look like a Jake, then you're a Jake. If you look like an Edomite, you're an Edomite. If you look like a Moabite, you're a Moabite. Like that Korean dude that dude is a Jake, man. I wish he would have ran into GMS. You know, that Korean dude that ran into HOI, the priest of Bach back then, you know, that he was interested to know what was going on because he felt drawn because he's an Israelite. And they pretty much just dismissed him. So we let him swagger cleave. That's fucked up. You don't know who that man is. You had a lot of Jakes that went to Korea. You had a lot of Jakes that went to Vietnam. I actually met, when I was a teenager, I actually met, you know, I didn't like really meet him, but he lived on my block. On my block. He was an Ephraimite veteran from the Vietnam War. He had a Vietnamese wife and he had Vietnamese daughters. And those Vietnamese daughters were Israelites. But they looked like straight up Vietnamese. They didn't look like Ephraimites. You got a lot of Israelites out there in Germany, in Vietnam, in Korea, in China, all over the place. In Spain, in Portugal, in France, Italy, I mean everywhere. Jake left their seed everywhere. And before Esau took over during the Renaissance, you had Jake that was ruling all throughout that region. All throughout so-called Europe. You guys are your thinking is very minute. Your experience is about as broad as 3 blocks from your home. A lot of you guys that reason like that, you never even been off your block. You never been out of your city. You never explored the world. You never explored, you know, other states. You never interacted with Israelites from other, you know, cultures. It says the enemy that sold him is the devil. When was this? This was during slavery, because that was a part of the curse. You shall get a wife and another man shall lie with her. You know, that's twofold. That goes into Esau doing that. And then you also had, you know, your wife was given to other men because she was sold to another plantation and ended up getting another husband. It says the harvest, and then sometimes you had, you know, those breeding farms. And I know that all those women that were laying with those individuals, bucks that they were, you know, breeding them with, they more than likely had husbands. But that bastard, that slave master, wanted to breed her with that buck because he wanted to bring strong children so that they can be good slaves. It says the harvest is the end of the world and the reapers are the angels. And therefore the tares are gathered and burnt in the fire. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and them that do iniquity, which are the Edomites. Because up here, within the parable, they asked him, so the servant of the household came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence hath it tares? The tares are the Edomites that look like Israelites. Just like you have wheat and tare. They look the same, but there you can distinguish them. But in the case of Jake, you look at an Edomite and cast him out, or a Korean looking dude and cast him out, and that dude might be an Israelite. He said unto them, an enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up, meaning get rid of those tares? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. because some of the tares look like the wheat and vice versa. Some of the wheat look like the tares. You start grabbing what you think is tares, but they're wheat. They're just not in the skin color, so to speak, of the wheat. So you guys thinking it's very minute. You guys out there that claim to be these big time Bible thumping Hebrew Israelites, your discernment, spiritual discernment, is very, very small. You know, all this knowledge you got, and you still can't even come to the conclusion of something as simple as, you know, Israelites looking like other nations. It says, let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, which are the angels, gather you together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn, which the Lord's barn is what? His chariot.